Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, a detransitioner has to postpone a speech at UW because of safety concerns. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
A lot of people think that when a president goes jet-setting around the world, it's just let's shake a few hands, let's kiss a few babies, let's get a couple of trade deals done. I don't think the average person understands how high stakes the meetings President Trump is having with China right now. Why? Well, this affects the Iran war. This affects global trade. This affects energy prices. This affects the economy. And so many people just don't get it. So let's go through this together so I can explain all of this to you. The left is going bonkers crazy since yesterday. Why? Because they claim that President Trump said he doesn't care about the economy. I saw this clip everywhere. It's a 10-second clip. However, it's actually taken from a much longer clip. And as usual, the lamestream media did what it did, clipped the president, and made him sound like he doesn't care about the average American. Because that's what they wanted to do. That was the plan. That's not actually what he said. Here's the full interaction, which is about 35 seconds long. And you tell me if you find anything that he said controversial.
Mr. President, when you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that matters.
Okay. Now you heard the question. You heard the answer. First of all, they didn't give you the context. You just see a headline. President Trump doesn't care about American finances. No. It was a question about Iran. When he walks into the negotiating room, it has to be, my goal is to make sure you don't have nuclear weapons. My goal is to make sure you don't finance terrorism. My goal is to make sure you can't kill Americans. That's what it has to be. Everything else, not important. That's what it is with that negotiation. So when you walk in there, that's what you want. Can you imagine somebody like Roosevelt negotiating it should be Truman. After World War II, Truman going, well, I need to think about all the men are overseas. Maybe we shouldn't. Roosevelt had to think maybe we shouldn't take them out of the factories. Maybe we should send them over there. Think about that for a second. Think about that. No, it should be Nazis are evil. We're going to kill the Nazis so they don't take over the world. These are the modern day Nazis. We have to take them out. That's number one. Number two is this is a regime that has killed thousands of Americans. This is a regime that currently right now is doing its absolute best to have bad effects on the economy. I actually think that this ceasefire deal should be ended right now. Should be ended right now. And depending on what happens in China, I think it will be. Because the longer this drags on for, the worse it is for President Trump. You look at the polling right now, and the polling shows that the average American is not in line with the war, thinks the economy isn't doing well, is linking the two together, and is blaming President Trump. And the only reason Republicans still have an advantage over Democrats is because the Democrats are still viewed as crazy. So that's the polling right now. Because the polling, it's really interesting. It says Americans aren't happy with the economy. They're not happy with the war. They're not happy about gas prices. Inflation went up, but they don't like them Democrats, which is fascinating, really fascinating. But also it shows something else. President Trump isn't worried about the polling. He's worried about doing the right things. Stopping Iran from being a terrorist threat to the entire world, especially America, should be priority number one. And you know what? I know not everybody's willing to suck it up and sacrifice a little, and it would be wrong of me to ask you to do that, or for anybody to ask you to do that. But what President Trump is looking at right now is the main concern. And I actually think that what Iran is hoping for, how long can they drag this out? And then if they drag it out long enough, President Trump and Republicans lose the midterms, Democrats sweep in, stop the war, then a Democrat president gets elected in 2028, and they can give money to Iran, and then Iran can rebuild and go back to doing terror. That's the calculation. Personally, for me, I think you should go in there, finish the job now. I think you should have the UAE or Saudi Arabia take Karg Island, take it completely, let them be the boots on the ground, let them be in charge of the oil. In fact, it would be better if it's the UAE, because the UAE wants to start pumping. They broke away from OPEC. They'll pump and they'll pump and they'll pump, and boom, there's gas everywhere. Prices fall. Inflation falls. Everything comes down. But you have a little fly in the ointment, and that's China. There's the modern-day axis of evil, and that's China, Iran, Russia. They all work together. China gets a big portion of its energy from Iran, of its oil from Iran and through the Strait of Hormuz. They are hurting right now. I know a lot of people want to say China is this big monster. Economically, it's not. Its GDP is in the toilet. It's not doing well because turns out, hey, communism don't work that good. They're really good at stealing things. They're really, really good at that. What was it? The Chevy Avalanche, to give you an example. I think it was the Chevy Avalanche. So it's one thing to look at your competitor's vehicle, reverse engineer it and make something better. Okay? China, I want to make sure, I'm not sure if it was the Chevy Avalanche, but I'm pretty sure it was. Stole the Chevy Avalanche because they like it, or they went out and bought one, whatever the case may be, took it to their factories, took the thing apart, copied all the parts, put it back together, and then they had a truck that looked just like the thing that they're still selling today, by the way. And what was crazy about it, the engine parts said GM on them. The engine parts said Chevrolet on them because they just stamped them and stamped them and stamped them until they got busted doing that. And they're like, okay, we got to make them say something else if we're making these molds anyway. That was the first few versions of the car. They steal U.S. intellectual property all the time. They are thieves. They are thieves. Look, Iran did the same thing. They shoot down a drone. They copy all the work that Boeing did. They build their own drones, and then they attack everybody with the drones. Sound familiar? This is what they do. Iran and China are partners. So China is hurting right now. Why is China hurting right now? One, we've stopped illegal immigration. And by stopping illegal immigration, they can't just unload a whole bunch of their citizens on us. Two, we're actually deporting people, including spies we find, which the Biden administration had no problem with this. Democrats had no problems with this. Swalwell brings them into his office. We literally just found a mayor in California who was a Chinese spy. And when you get rid of them, it's a lot harder to steal intellectual property. Personally, for me, I would say no more Chinese students in American universities who are planning on moving back to China afterwards. You're literally letting them into the places, doing the research, doing the development for these companies. It's not a racial thing. It's because if they plan on moving back to China, it's because they plan on being part of the Chinese communist government, living under that. You want to come to America, be here? Chinese Americans are great, really, really great. I've had a lot of contact with that community when I was running for office. I used to hang out in Chinatown, the International District, all the time. There's so many similarities in culture between the Chinese community and the Jewish community. We had lots to talk about. I love that community. But they came here to escape China. They came here to get away from the communism. If they're planning on taking the stuff back with them, they shouldn't be at American universities. And the problem is American universities charge foreign students full freight because the U.S. students are the ones getting all the scholarships all the time, so that's how they make their money, which is why the universities are fighting this so hard. But you got to stop that. This whole idea of the Silk Road, where China was spreading its tentacles to all these countries all over the world before COVID, that kind of collapsed because China unleashed, whether accidentally or intentionally, coronavirus on everybody. COVID, the pandemic, that's all on China. That is all on China, and it hit them pretty hard. And people don't want to be part of that anymore. So what you have to do is you have to isolate China. Shutting down the Strait of Hormuz is one way you isolate China. But another thing is making people do partnerships with the U.S. One of the biggest mistakes President Trump made was the whole trade war with Canada. Because you had Pierre Poilievre, who was going to be elected the prime minister. But as soon as this whole trade war started, everybody turned on Trump. They saw Pierre as an ally with Trump, and they elected James Carney. James Carney runs away from the United States and runs to China. That is bad. The more countries you can do relationships with here, the better off you are. And the more you bring in, the more trade deals you do, the more that American products are being sold to these other countries and their products are being sold here, it's better for everybody. Especially because then they're not doing business with China. If they're buying U.S. gas, if they're buying our oil, if they're buying that energy stuff from us, they're not getting it from Iran. They're not getting it from Russia. Also, let's not forget, China, horrible people. They use slave labor all the time. They have people, literally millions of Uyghur Muslims and others in concentration camps in China. That's going on right now. If China collapses, if the government collapses, those people go free. We can't invade China. There's 1 billion people in China. We cannot win that. That is not a war we want to do. And we can't save everybody, unfortunately. But if economically we could take out that country, we can isolate that country, then guess what? Everything changes. Everything changes. You see how important these negotiations are now? You see how important it is that President Trump is going there? In fact, when he was getting on the helicopter this morning, he outlined what he's hoping comes of this.
And as soon as this war is over, which will not be long, you're going to see oil prices drop, and you're going to see a stock market, which is already at the highest point in history, go through the roof. You're going to see the golden age of America, frankly, and you're seeing it now. So as soon as this is over, don't forget, you have hundreds of ships that are loaded up with oil that want to come out. As soon as they come out, we're going to have a gusher of oil, and you're going to have inflation that goes way down. Now, with all of this, inflation is much lower than it was under Biden. Biden had the highest inflation in the history of our country. Inflation is nothing by comparison, but our inflation is just short term. Because if you go from just before the war, we were for the last 3 months 1.7%. And now what you have is as soon as this war is over, you're going to see inflation go down to probably 1.5%.
He's exactly right. He is exactly right. So how do you end the war? China wants this war over because China wants that strait reopened. So what President Trump says is, you want the strait reopened? Great. Get Iran to give up their nuclear ambitions. They are your partner. Get them to stop sponsoring terror. Oh, and by the way, what trade deals can we work out, and what can we do to stop you guys from stealing U.S. intellectual property? What can we do about that? That is what is at stake right now. You want the strait open? You want the war with Iran to end? This is the step before you go back to bombing the crap out of Iran. If China gives Trump what he wants, and we don't have to give up a lot in return because China's not stupid, and the only things we give up are things we're okay giving up, then guess what? The war is over tomorrow without more bombs. If these negotiations fail, and if China doesn't budge at all, we are going to start dropping bombs again. When's Trump back? I think he's back on Friday, maybe Thursday. We are going to start dropping bombs over the weekend back to Iran. That is likely what's going to happen. That is why this is so high stakes. And what does that affect? That affects how much you're paying at the pump. That affects your gas prices. That affects everything. Something else is AI. So regarding AI technologies, look, AI is here. It's not going anywhere. I know most of you use it for memes, and it's funny. I know most of you use it to make your work easier, and that's fine. But AI has massive implications about what it can do, and we are adjusting for it. But you know that most of the AI development is being done here in America. China's trying to steal it. And when you say, oh, we want to shut down AI here in America, that's the dumbest thing you can do. This is the wave of the future. You have to figure out how to adapt. If somebody's going to lose a job because of it, how do you fix that? How do you solve that so you don't have massive unemployment, so the entire tech sector isn't fired? How do you deal with that? That's an issue to deal with. I'm not going to say it isn't, especially when you look at places like Seattle, where now all the tech companies are moving out and the development's not being done here. That is something you have to deal with. But idiot Democrats like Bernie Sanders and AOC and Katie Wilson trying to stop the development and trying to stop the data centers and trying to stop that from being here. Oh, let's just send it to China. Let's let them do that. You are letting them have the technological edge. That is as dumb as saying, hey, you know what? Because of green energy and climate change, we don't want to drill for oil here in the U.S. Go do it in those Arab countries. Go do it in those Arab countries. You are literally giving the advantage to China. That is how short-sighted it is. That is how dumb these Democrats are. They're anti-America. They're pro-China. We know this. Anytime you adopt these Green New Deal policies, who does it help? China, who doesn't care about any of that. India, who doesn't care about any of that. Hurts us more. This is huge. This is absolutely huge, these negotiations, because we're watching history unfold right now. Now, think about this for a second. If China's power is limited, very, very limited, and scaled back, their whole idea with these tendrils of the Silk Road and all that, that's pretty much flushed down the toilet right now unless Democrats come out. And then if America isn't the powerful one, if America isn't the popular kid anymore, other countries go say, who can we make deals with? Who's going to protect us? Who do we not want to fight with? What can we give up? And then it's back to China or Russia or whoever it is. Right now, we see a massive realignment in the Middle East. Countries are now saying we want to make deals with them because we don't like Iran. They're stepping up. They're shutting all this down. Why did the UAE say we want to pump our own oil? Because they want to make more money, because they want to sell it to the rest of the world. They want to be apart from OPEC. OPEC may completely fall apart because of all this, and that's great. That's the free market doing what the free market does. That is huge. These negotiations have massive implications for your wallet because Trump is 100% right. As soon as this conflict is open, prices come falling down. The question is the conflict going to be over because we're just going back to the status quo? Or is the conflict going to be over because we're doing a massive realignment of the global economy? And if that actually happens, everything gets cheaper. Everything gets cheaper. Inflation goes way down. Gas prices go way down. Goods, services, products, all that go way down. And all of a sudden the economy booms again. But there's a lot of ifs in that equation. Let me know. You still have faith in this going forward? Or you just say, let's cut a deal, let's get out of here, and let's get back to normal. Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, your calls and your texts. Plus a detransitioner was supposed to be speaking at University of Washington, and now the event is postponed because of threats. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. A lot of you want to weigh in on my diatribe, my monologue about China and Trump's negotiations. We'll get to the phones and the texts in just a second. But first, Kevin, I think we should start doing a new segment. The dumb things we're spending money on for the World Cup. Okay? So yesterday we talked about the water dispensers downtown, so you can fill up your water bottle, which you can't bring into the stadium anyway.
Also known as homeless butt washers. Yes.
Exactly right. That's the problem with them. So, Kevin, that's going to be your job today. I'm going to tell you the new thing, and you're going to tell me how this is going to go bad. Okay? All right, here we go. So, good. Excellent. Water dispensers, not disposal. Well, it's going to be disposing something, that's for sure. Okay, we know that. Here's the new idea. Floating football arena. By that, they mean soccer. They're going to put it on a barge at the waterfront so you can play soccer on a barge at the waterfront. And we're going to spend money on this. Kevin, can you think of any problems there might be with a floating soccer field? Any come to mind?
Oh, I could think of several.
Yes.
But down at the waterfront, you might have to have you might be able to get a lot of players involved. Mm-hmm. Here's one thing. There's plenty of let's just say not all together there people walking around.
There you go.
You might, hey, I need a goalkeeper. Sir, here's $1. Stand right here.
So that's a problem, right? That's okay. The riffraff down at the waterfront, definitely a problem. So you have to get people to want to go to the waterfront. That's an issue is number one.
And then maybe while you're playing the soccer there or the football, you might get a little thirsty. You might have a little Gatorade.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I need to take a leak somewhere.
Where are we going?
Where am I going to go do that?
Another thing for you, Kevin, you ever play basketball growing up when you were a kid or stickball or any of these kind of things? So what happens if you hit a ball too far?
Well, I can tell you, having just been on a cruise ship, they just put giant nets up all the way up. So like you can play soccer, you can play like basketball on a cruise ship and not worry about that.
So it's funny you mentioned that. That would make sense.
Yeah.
That's not their plan.
No.
They want to use shipping containers as the fence or whatever it is. Now, that's okay in theory, but are they going as high as the nets you're talking about on the cruise ship or whatever it is? Because otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of soccer balls. And now you got a lot of fishies that are eating the whatever that's in the water. You got issues. But also, you got people down near the waterfront. You think people around here are clean? How much trash and garbage and everything else is going to end up down there? Now, that's an issue you have on every day at the waterfront. But I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical about this idea, but here's my other thing. Why are we spending money on a soccer field at the waterfront?
Because it's FIFA and it's the World Cup and all they do is burn money.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm like, I can introduce you into several countries where you could just see rotting stadiums that were just built for that stupid month of games and then just rots.
You don't have to go there. Don't we have Seattle Center? I mean, Pacific Science Center ain't looking too good these days. There's a lot of other things that ain't looking too good these days. You ever see Men in Black? You know, the spaceships on the towers that they take out of the World's Fair in New York? That stuff's been sitting there since 1962.
I'll give them this much for at least the 1960s World Fair that we had here.
Yeah.
It has changed. It is maybe there's peaks and valleys with how nice or how things are running.
Yeah.
It's Seattle Center, but at the end of the day, it's continuously been
We've used it for stuff.
A space to use and things in various ways. But some of this other stuff that is associated, I mean, we're going to be lucky in that, like, we're not building anything specifically or permanently for this FIFA nonsense that I'm aware of.
I agree.
That I'm aware of.
I agree.
Currently.
Now, the temporary soccer field, okay. But I love how the left is always like, you know how much money we could save if we weren't spending it on Iran? But give us the soccer field. We want the soccer field. As opposed to, there's a homeless guy over there. You know, this is what we're spending the money on?
I would just say that I think the left their sort of love for FIFA and the World Cup and the Olympics and the Olympic Committee.
Yeah,
they're not fans. They're not fans.
That's good. Then let them not be
of the
fans.
Game itself of soccer.
They love soccer. Antifa loves soccer.
Oh, sure.
They love that.
The quote unquote amateur athletes that get a shot in the Olympics, they love that.
Yeah.
But as far as the giant mega things, there's quite a bit of hatred.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. We go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Jay in Olympia. Jay, what's up, man?
Hey, Ari. Just wanted to say that you nailed it, sir, on your monologue, not your diatribe, about what's going on in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I hope that people are listening and paying attention, because the big question is whether or not America will be patient enough with Trump as he rearranges the world order. Back in the day, as a proud baby boomer, we used to be told about spheres of influence when we were fighting, or we were, going toe-to-toe with the Soviet Union, and that we were working to make sure that we had our spheres. And it looks like the Donald is working to create a sphere of influence, a permanent sphere of influence in the Middle East that includes Iran after he finally gets them to surrender. So it is awesome. And, we have complainers here in this country about Trump wanting to be king of the country. I think he's working on being king of the world. But I digress, and I will defer to your wise comments.
Well, I'll say this. Thank you for the kind words. It's very nice. I put a lot of work into that research, actually, so I'll appreciate that. But something else here is that when you look at how's it reshaping the world, what was our model during the Reagan years? Give everybody guns. Right? If we give them weapons, and that was the model for Democrats, Republicans, everybody. It was through Vietnam. It was, let's go fight to stop communism. Donald Trump's thing is, let's give them McDonald's to stop communism. That's the difference between the two. Make them partners. You want to be friends with us, or do you want to be enemies with us, because you'll make a lot more money if you're friends with us? And that's the sphere of influence we're talking about right now. Jay, appreciate the kind words, appreciate the call, appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show. You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here from Matt. Matt says, how are they going to play soccer on El DeBarge? Very good. Took me a second on that one. He included a picture. Otherwise, I would have been behind on that. Very good, Matt. Forrest Cat's worried about getting seasick in the soccer. You're at the dock. I don't think you're getting seasick. I don't think you're really going there. John thinks somebody's going to fall and drown. Forrest Cat also thinks there's going to be seagull poop. Yeah, I think that's a real concern. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Chris in Body Lake. Chris, what's up?
Hey, buddy. So, on your AI thing?
Yeah.
Have you seen Terminator, my friend?
Several times. In fact, I've even seen the bad ones. Yes, you're worried it's going to be like Skynet. Yeah. It's going to kill us all. Or in the Matrix, it's going to kill us all.
It is Skynet, my friend.
I'll tell you, if it keeps
making
making
people...
people...
once they give it control.
Well, hang on a second, Chris. If it keeps making my memes with people with 6 fingers, I'm not that worried. If it starts getting better than that, then I'm concerned.
Okay, Ari... That is just the public AI. They're not letting the real AI out.
I know. I'm not saying it's not a concern. I'm not saying it's not a concern, Chris. I am really not. Because, look, I've seen the movies. I've seen The Matrix. I've seen Terminator. I've seen all this stuff. I'm not saying it's not a concern. But the question is, what can you use it for? Does it become like a C-3PO? Where it does what you want to do? Does it become like an R2-D2 where it gives you a little attitude but does what you want to do? Or does it become like the Skynet? Yeah. Right? That's where we're at right now.
The problem is who programs it. Because AI, honestly, I'm an old IT guy.
Yeah.
AI, which artificial intelligence is a real oxymoron.
Yes.
But AI is just programming.
Yes.
So, and it all depends on who programs it.
So, Chris, I'll give you a perfect example. I one time was curious how good it was at writing articles. I figured, hey, you know what? If I feed these things into AI and then we just pump them out for KVI, I don't have to write anything. We could just have it do that for ourselves. It sounded like we were the most leftist organization in the world when I tried that. So we don't do that no more. We tried that one time.
Because that's who programmed it.
Exactly. So what's funny was it was an article about the homeless, right? And it was about all these homeless problems. And I'm like, let me just see what AI does with this. Dumped it into the AI. Everything was unsheltered neighbors. We have to spend more money on this. I'm like, that isn't even what I said. Yeah, so we don't use it for that no more. Chris, appreciate the perspective. Appreciate the call. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, University of Washington was so concerned about violence, they had to cancel this event with a detransitioner. We'll give you the details on what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just want to remind you, we have a contest going on right now over at KVI.com. You can win tickets to the Bremerton Air Show, which is July 11th and 12th. We're going to be out there on the 12th. So, my friends, make sure you head on over to KVI.com. Give us your personal information so we can give it to AI. No, I'm just kidding. So that way you can win fantabulous prizes and also let you know about some upcoming events that we have. Well, one event that was supposed to be today at the University of Washington has now been canceled. Some of you may know who Chloe Cole is. Some of you may not. Chloe Cole is a detransitioner. She goes around speaking about the dangers of gender reassignment surgery, otherwise known as sex changes. And she cautions about it. So she was coming to University of Washington to do one of those pick up the mic events. As soon as this thing was announced, there were death threats. As soon as this thing announced, what happens? You have the Hamasniks, and everybody on this flyer is an anti-Israel activist group, and they have the Palestinian flag with the trans flag. Yeah, wrap your head around that one for a second. They would throw trans people off the tallest buildings in Gaza if there were any buildings left in Gaza. So every anti-Israel group now says they want to come and stop this event. Now, they weren't able to stop the Nick Freitas event, a Pick Up the Mic event for Turning Point USA a couple weeks ago, but they were able to stop Miss Israel, who came into our studio instead to have the discussion because of security concerns. Now, she was getting these death threats before this week. This event was announced, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she was already getting the death threats, and the activists were talking about protesting it. I think I posted about this last week on like Wednesday or Thursday or something. What happened on Monday? On Monday, you had a trans student killed at the University of Washington, stabbed to death. Now, we don't have the details about this at all. We still don't know much about the suspect. We know what he looks like, and there are these videos that are circulating on Reddit. I don't normally get my news from Reddit. I usually find that Reddit has a very low success rate in outing actual facts. It's usually just crazy town. But there is this video going around of an individual who matches the description of the suspect, now that we have the full description, bothering kids on campus, harassing kids on campus. And the kids at UW and others are convinced this is the guy. I haven't seen anything to tell me one way or the other if it is the guy, not the guy. But a lot of people said, how do you let this guy back on campus? If it is the guy, you had warnings plenty of times that he was a danger. If he's not the guy, and you don't deal with a guy like this, how can we expect you to deal with somebody more dangerous like the one who killed this student? Now, the problem is the activists took the fatal stabbing of this trans person and have turned it into Chloe Cole wants everybody to die. Turning Point USA wants everybody to die. You're coming here when we just had the violence against the trans community. You want everybody to die. And they have made it so bad that University of Washington, Seattle police, and the security guys couldn't guarantee the safety of Chloe Cole. It was that bad. Now, that's crazy in its own. In fact, here's Chloe Cole, what she said last night when she announced this.
As many of you may know now, I was scheduled to speak tomorrow at an event at University of Washington hosted by TPUSA's local chapter there. I'm putting this video out because, as you may have heard, Antifa has assembled a local militia, in their own words, to shut down this event. Their actions, their explicit threats on my life, have raised this event to national attention. A level of attention our security team and the local PD are frankly unprepared for. Before Charlie Kirk's assassination, I think I would have been less careful. But the times have changed, and speaking on a university campus in 2026 can come with deadly consequences. We are postponing this event because of this reality. I am not afraid of Antifa. The reason I'm speaking out at all is because I've already walked and escaped my own personal hell. It's hard to shake me. And some ragtag group of wannabe revolutionaries on cross-sex hormones certainly won't shake me. But there's a difference between being brave and being stupid. This is not a win for Antifa, because truth will always win. Christ will always prevail. God created each and every single one of us in his image, and there are only two sexes. That is the exact message I was going to take to University of Washington tomorrow. I will be back. Not just to UW, but to many campuses across the country. Because once conversations stop, that is when the violence begins.
Now, here's something else to think about. If University of Washington, the Seattle Police Department, the University of Washington Police Department can't secure their own campus, now you got a bigger problem. And we saw that in 2023, 2024. Saw that in 2025. Now you got a bigger problem. When you can't even have a speaker on campus, this is an issue. This is a huge, huge issue. But something else. Chloe Cole is actually going to be, we're going to have an interview with her at 4:30 today on the show. So we get to hear about some of this with her and what message she was going to be giving at University of Washington. But something else here. Now that this thing's been canceled, now it's all over social media. People weren't really paying attention before. I think now her message may be reaching more people. What do you think? Think it was wise to cancel? Think you should have gone ahead with it? What I personally would have done instead is I would have said, we're still having the event. Come here, and all the activists would have gone to the UW campus, and then you have the event somewhere else to the people you actually want to come. I think that could have been kind of fun. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Neri in Seattle. Neri, what's going on?
Simple question.
Yeah.
Remember the Great Generation, right? The
Which
Great
generation? Say that
of-
again. I lost you, Neri. Which generation? The greatest generation? Is that what you said?
The Great Generation.
Yes, I'm with you.
What happens to us? What kind of generation are we? They took the life on Normandy, and we just getting all pissed off from a little bit of rise in gas prices. Economy mean nothing once you have a nuclear holocaust.
Yes, and then you really don't have an economy. Can you imagine if New York is taken out, God forbid, by a nuclear bomb, or Seattle for that matter? Can you imagine any city being taken out by that? Then you don't have an economy. Then investment in America goes through the floor because everybody's scared. Think about that for a second.
My question is, you can tell me, oh, well, it's not touching to us. You don't understand. This is Islamic ideology. This is not Marxism or anything. They don't care for zero-sum game.
Right.
See their own people. See their own people. They butcher 50,000 of their own people in 1 month.
Yeah, they killed all those people in Iran. Where are all the protesters for them?
So
where are all the protesters out on the streets for them?
We are nothing to them. So what's the point? By the way, 50,000 people, that's what Hiroshima and Nagasaki was.
Yeah, and they don't seem to care about that at all. I don't hear the protesters talking about that at all. I appreciate the perspective, Neri. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, while Trump is overseas, J.D. Vance is dealing with fraud at home. Does that mean we're actually going to have the J.D. Vance squad out here in Washington? We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. If Trump cured cancer, the left would rally to save cancer. It's insane. You know the reflecting pool, that thing in Washington, D.C., right next to the Washington Monument? You see it in all the movies, Forrest Gump, for example. You've seen that sucker, right? It's in bad shape. Nobody's fixed it for years. They pulled out 40,000 tons of garbage out of the thing. I don't know the last time it actually reflected anything. It's been in bad shape for a while. And yet now that Trump is redoing it for the 250th anniversary, you have the left going bonkers crazy. Why? Because he's fixing the reflecting pool. How dare you? How dare you? Now you have this historic group suing to try and stop it because they're repainting it too. Are you kidding me with this nonsense? Give me a break. I assume it's just the Democrats who find some old dude and go, congratulations, you're a historic society now. You're going to sue on behalf of this thing. You want to know how bad it was? Here's Secretary Burgum giving the details.
Well, one thing, it's surprising to me the reflecting pools come up so many different times during this thing, but of course it's been noted by what you've entered into the record. I mean, this thing has been broken and failing. As I said, there 40,000 estimated gallons a day that's coming out of this thing, millions in a year, and it needs to be fixed. And so we took out 2.5 miles worth of rotting a seam material that connects the different components in the base of the pool for where these expansion joints are. And there's been a lot of, I don't call it mocking, maybe it's just misunderstanding about the color. The color, American flag blue, is meant to enhance the reflectivity. It's called the reflecting pool. It's not a look to the bottom and see how deep it is pool. It's a reflecting pool. And anyone that has, from the experts in this industry, know if you want to have a reflecting pool in some kind of fountain or some kind of place around the world, you want to have a dark base on the color. There was a time in history when this reflecting pool was actually asphalt black. It reflects the patriotic nature of the color. It's the same blue as the navy blue as in our American flag, so it's the appropriate color choice. And I think when it's completed, people are going to see that again. 47 million people come to the National Mall every year. It's the most visited site. It's one of the most photographed sites that we have, and the place was a complete mess. Not just leaking, but algae filled, chlorine lines broken, all these things. So that idea that somehow everything that we want, everybody wanted to have a clean, safe, and beautiful Washington, D.C., but if this president makes it a priority and personally says we're going to get it done for our 250th, then the word vanity gets inserted. And something like the ballroom, President Trump's, the thing he'll never even get to use it. It's going to come for every president that comes after us. And this nation deserves to have a secure convening space for heads of state, for Americans, for Congress to come there, as well as having the secure facilities that were beneath it that were, originally built. FDR built some of those in the, FDR did the reconstruction back, pre-World War II. Teddy Roosevelt tore some stuff down to build the West Wing. Were those vanity projects? No, they're still helping the nation today. And so, again, I think the characterization of these things are false. And I'm not sure what the end game is. I would think all of us would want to make sure that our capital is the best, most secure, most beautiful capital in the world. Thank you.
You'd think. But no, people go bonkers over this. Absolutely crazy over this. Yes.
Oh, it's the devil here.
Yeah. Yes.
The thing that I read was the problem or the issue with it is that it looks like it's going to be a pretty bright blue. And the fear of it is that it could look like a swimming pool with that really blue bottom
that
you see in places.
I saw this, and what's funny is I laughed. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. We were repainting our synagogue here in Seattle, and we stripped it all down, and we put on the base color. And the base color made it look like a barn. It was this red maroonish thing. I got yelled at by so many people. How dare you? How dare you repaint it this color? Our synagogue. I got yelled at and yelled at and yelled at. The light blue is what you put on before the dark blue.
Sure, and I hope that's the case, but if it does end up being like
a giant swimming pool, yeah.
Which the guy in the White House loves gaudy things and very gold, bright.
He didn't put gold on it, man.
I know, but like it wouldn't surprise me if he did choose something that pops and sticks out. So
I'll tell you what.
That he did it.
If there's a giant T in gold on the bottom of it, I'll agree with you. If there are gold railings, so if they put a hot tub in the corner, yes, national disease. That's how we do it. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, why was the New York Times covering a horrific report about what happened on October 7th? We'll give you the details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Bob Ferguson is asking for President Trump's help. Doesn't get any better than that. But before we get to any of that, yesterday, after the show was over, I drove out to Bellevue. I went to Bellevue City Hall so I could go to the Bellevue City Council meeting. Why? They were considering a new ordinance. The new ordinance was discussing stopping targeted protesting because these radical activists have been showing up at Congressman Adam Smith's house for a few years now at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. They've been burning flags in his driveway. They've been vandalizing his house. Now, first you had the anti-Israel Hamasniks. Then Shama Sawan announces she's getting into the race, so you've got her minions. Then you've got other people joining the anti-Israel Hamasniks from the local nearby Muslim community. And then you've got more far-left activists who are mad about this, mad about the other thing, and they see that nothing's happening because they just keep claiming freedom of speech, freedom of speech. So there's this new ordinance where you can't do this because it's driving his neighbors insane, and his wife, by the way. I don't even know his wife's name. I've never met his wife. I don't know if she's in the public eye. You shouldn't be targeting people's families. You shouldn't be doing it. How bad is it? One of his neighbors testified last night to the city council.
This neighborhood, I've witnessed the mobs that come up to his house. I'm all in favor of political discourse. I belong to Indivisible. I've attended protests myself. In those protests, they always talk about de-escalating, to be respectful of other people. The mobs that come up to Adam Smith's house are anything but. They come with masks. They vandalized his house. They set fire to flags. They intimidate the neighborhood. They wake you up in the middle of the night with bullhorns. I don't think any of that is reasonable political discourse. And it's very intimidating. I've gone up and spoken to these people at one of the events. I was threatened.
That's who these people are. He was threatened for saying, hey, it's 3 a.m. Can you stop? And they threaten him. This is what this guy's dealing with. This guy's one step away from becoming a Republican. This guy said he goes to Indivisible. That's the No Kings people. He said he's a Democrat, and yet they're threatening him. This is who the new left is, the ones who target the normies, right? These radical activists who think it's okay to go do that. But what was interesting about this was the leftist activists said they want to pack the City Hall chamber. I posted a picture online yesterday. You can find it over at Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, the Hofffather over at Twitter. There was like nobody there yesterday. I mean, a handful of people, maybe 20, maybe something like that. And there were some activists. It was a very diverse group of elderly white Hamasniks in this crowd who were there to protest last night, and most of them don't live in Seattle. I got to say, the Bellevue City Council, they handled this masterfully. They had a few minutes for public comment, and then they spent 2 or 3 hours on boring minutia. So, for example, talk about water management, sewer management, and they put the controversial thing at the end. It was so boring that by the end, most of them left. And here's something else. The audio didn't translate so well, so I didn't rip it. But there was this one woman. They said, okay, when we're done testifying on this issue, we're moving on to this other issue. But if you start testifying back about the Adam Smith thing, we're going to cut off your time. This one woman went up there talking about, I don't know, art or landscaping or something. And then all of a sudden, she started talking about this. Bellevue shut her down right away, shut her down, had her escorted out. They don't play the games they do in Seattle. So the activists who came for the fight realized very, very quickly they don't want to get arrested. They don't want to deal with any of that because Bellevue Police Department is actually allowed to do its jobs. And they shut them down. You know who was there last night, Kevin? Bennett the protester was there last night. And I think I saw him walk out and leave a couple times because it was that boring. It was that boring. Yes, banned from the show, but he came to Bellevue.
I feel like whenever you bring him up, we should play like, is it one of the McLaughlin? What is it? I will remember you. Should we? Maybe we should get that on the button bar here.
Maybe we should do that. That's right. He's just not here anymore. No, he doesn't get to come on the show anymore.
No.
But it was pretty sad. Now, mind you, they ended up voting for this thing 6-1. And you may ask, who's the one who voted against it? The candidate who was endorsed by CARE and who was endorsed by MAPS. That's right. The one who was endorsed by the organizations with ties to terror. That's the one. Sorry, alleged ties to terror. That's the one who voted against this thing. But meanwhile, the rest of them voted for it, and the activists lost. But when I was looking around the room and looking at these elderly white people with their keffiyehs that they ordered on Amazon that they don't even know what they mean, these elderly white folk, I couldn't help but think to myself, you guys are protesting Adam Smith. Now, I don't agree with Adam Smith on a lot of things, but he comes on the show anytime we ask him to. You guys are protesting Adam Smith because you call him a warmonger or whatever else, because he's the head of the House Armed Services Committee. Oh, he's the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, which means he controls the purse strings of war stuff and the U.S. military. Where were you guys when Iran was killing 30 to 40 to 50,000 of its own people? Where were you guys for all of that? You didn't say one damn word. Not one. No Jews, no news, I guess. Where were you guys for any other world atrocity? Where are you guys for the Uyghur Muslims in China who are literally in concentration camps as we speak right now? Where are you guys for any of that? And where were you guys for the victims of October 7th? If you have kids with you in the car, if you have kids listening right now, I need you to earmuff it. This next little thing we're going to do right here, this is not for children. This is not for children. So I'm going to give you a minute by playing this next clip, but realize this next thing is not for children, okay? So if you got to get them an iPad, I'm going to give you a little time here. Who was in that room protesting? The Democratic Socialists of America, of course. These are the white people, the aging hippies. Here's what they said.
Good evening. Thank you so much. My name is Nadine Kuhn. My last name is H.E., and I'm here representing the Democratic Socialists of America. And this is a statement from the Seattle DSA. The Seattle Democratic Socialists of America and the East Side branch thereof urge the Bellevue City Council to reject Ordinance 6917. This ordinance is a troublesome restriction on the political speech of our members and other citizens who are critical of local, federal politicians and other elected officials. Political speech is especially protected under the First Amendment, and restrictions on it must withstand the highest level of scrutiny. This ordinance plainly fails that test. We also believe that this ordinance reflects poorly upon the council. It could be seen as either doing the bidding of particular politicians or worse, as a self-interested move that prevents Bellevue residents from expressing their political opinions to members of the City Council if they happen to be in a group of 3 when they encounter the City Council members in their own neighborhoods. Even if that scenario sounds absurd.
Yeah, we want to be able to show up at their houses whenever we want. We want to be able to target them in their homes, in their neighborhoods, and how dare you stop us? That's the Democratic Socialists of America. That's what they want to do, the Democratic Socialists of America. How dare you stop us from harassing people in their neighborhoods? Okay, did you earmuff the kids? Did you do that? I didn't hear any of these people speaking out against the atrocities that were committed on October 7th. There's a new report that was released, and I spent the afternoon reading it, which is why, Kevin, I may have had a funny look on my face part of the day today. This is why. So what they did was, it's called Silence No More, Sexual Terror Revealed, The Untold Atrocities of October 7th and Against Hostages in Captivity. They put together all the testimonials, all the evidence, all the footage, everything is condensed into this one report. Everything they have on what happened. And it is horrific. In fact, normally I would say, hey, there's a link over on my social media accounts, which there is. I don't want you to read it. I don't want you to read it. For those of you who have been longtime listeners of the Ari Hoffman Show, you might remember a couple of years ago after I went to see the October 7th footage about how bad it was, that I was clearly shaken by it. Very, very shaken by it. This is worse. And the reason this is worse is, you know how when you're reading a book, the movie never measures up to the book because your mind imagines what it is and that's how you expect it to be. And then when you see it on the big screen, it just doesn't look like that. your mind reads this stuff, knows it's real, and then interprets it. And then what's worse about it is you start wondering, my God, what if those were my family members? The stuff in this report is so graphic, so awful, so horrible, words haven't been invented yet to describe it. And I'll say that after reading this report, which includes things like, quote, the men dragged a woman out of the vehicle, forcibly removed her clothing and raped her. They stabbed her repeatedly and killed her and continued to rape her after she was dead. That's from Roz Cohen, survivor of the Nova Festival. In addition to that, they filmed this stuff. They uploaded it. And when they killed somebody, they took the phones and they looked up mom, dad, grandma, whoever it was, and then they sent them the footage of it. They sliced off parts of anatomy while raping people. I can't discuss half the stuff they did, 3/4 of the stuff they did, because the FCC will come down on me for doing it. They taught them how to say the following phrases in Hebrew. They taught the terrorists to say, take off your pants, lie down, spread your legs. That's according to the terrorists themselves. Talking about what they did with hammers, axes, screwdrivers, nails, what they did. This is one of the most graphic things I have ever read in my entire life. Ever. It's horrific. Absolutely horrific. So after reading this thing and being clearly shaken up, I thought to myself, wow, the IDF and Netanyahu had a lot of restraint. Because if I was the prime minister of Israel, and God forbid this had happened on my watch, I would have said, turn Gaza to glass. A society that raises their children, their brothers, their fathers, their sons, whoever, to do this, does not deserve to remain on this earth. I would have said, turn it to glass. All of it. All of it. Here's something else. Not a single Palestinian helped any of the hostages. Not one. In fact, the civilians helped in torturing the prisoners, the hostages. They helped. They gave them their apartments. They knew they were there and they didn't do anything to save them. At Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum in Israel, they have the path of the righteous. They have the trees of the righteous Gentiles, which are for all the non-Jews who helped the Jews, all the Germans and Austrians who helped the Jews during World War II. There's not going to be one of those for the Museum of the October 7th atrocities because nobody helped. We've been making fun of this New York Times report the past couple days. So let me give you a little insider baseball to all this. This website, this report, was sent to the media and embargoed. What embargoed means is, guys, we're giving you this thing, and this is the date you're allowed to release it. We don't want it released by then, until then. They actually gave it to CNN early. CNN got to release it before anybody else did as an exclusive, and everybody else got to release it afterwards, a few hours before everybody else came from CNN. They sent this to every single major media outlet. They did, including the New York Times, according to Israel. What did the New York Times do? The New York Times knew this was coming. So they had Nicholas Kristof, the guy who ran for governor of Oregon but didn't live in Oregon, the guy who has lied so many times in the New York Times that I don't know why they keep this guy on. He wrote an op-ed making up the most ridiculous things, taking every Hamas claim, including dogs sexually violating prisoners, which just doesn't even happen. They did that, and they printed that as fact, so everybody would be talking about that and ignoring this. The New York Times knew. The New York Times knew this report was coming out and did everything in their power that you'd be talking about the dogs and not be talking about this report. Anybody at the New York Times who approved this should be fired, and I think that even if they fire the entire editorial staff and Nicholas Kristof, everybody should cancel their subscriptions to the New York Times. It is absolute garbage for printing this. Garbage. Absolute garbage. I don't think this outlet can be saved, the New York Times. I think it's so bad after printing that. Oh, also, I didn't see them print any article about the atrocities. No. And then I thought back about the merry gang of idiots outside of Adam Smith's house. who show up on a nightly basis at 3 a.m. to burn flags in his driveway and vandalize his home. These useful idiots protesting around the world while wearing keffiyehs and waving terrorist flags are championing something worse than Nazis. Words have not been invented yet to describe this evil. It is so bad. But they're rallying in the streets for the modern day Nazis. They say, believe all women. They have the Women's March. And yet they are rallying for the people that did horrific, unspeakable things to women with gardening tools. And then sent the pictures to their parents. The graphic, awful stuff that these guys did, I cannot say on air. Heads were decapitated. Pelvic bones were shattered. They continued raping people after they were dead. This is the society in Gaza. This is the state that people want for Palestine, populated by people like this. And where were the so-called innocent Palestinians? To help save the hostages, to help rescue the hostages, maybe give them a little food or something. Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. The next time you see somebody waving a Palestinian flag and somebody says it's a pro-Palestine demonstration, no, it's a pro-terror demonstration. It's a pro-Nazi demonstration. It's a pro-Hamas demonstration. I'm going to say this again. Do not read this report. You've been warned. It is that graphic. Do not read this report. If you're still determined to do so, it will sit in your mind forever. I cannot get the images of the October 7th footage out of my mind. It just pops in there sometimes. I am warning you. It is that graphic. And if you subscribe to the New York Times, you should ask why they printed the Hamas PR propaganda and didn't print this. Why they did that, and whether your Wordle or your Scrabble or your crossword puzzle is worth it when you can get all those things from other websites. All of them, if you still subscribe to the New York Times. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, I was actually thinking of you in Bellevue yesterday. Their transit station looks beautiful out there.
Why, thank you. I tried to call in while I was in Vancouver, BC on vacation, and sadly they didn't have time for me. But what I would have said basically is I am the son of a politician. I was assaulted because my dad's campaign sign was in the window, and to protest at somebody's home is just, it makes people sympathetic for the other side, for one, and for two, who are these people protesting for? Oh, the barbarians that raped women. It sure makes them look equally deplorable and undemocratic, eh?
Yeah, but this is who they're rallying for. This is who they're rallying for, Joe. It's beyond crazy. It's absolutely beyond crazy. Joe, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Kevin, I love the text that we're getting. A lot of people didn't know we banned Bennett the protester. They had no idea. They're like, oh, that's why we haven't heard him in a while. Well, yeah, here's something else to think about. Bennett goes out and protests with those fools. He goes out and protests with those guys against Israel. And I want you to think about that for a second. He claims, oh, no, I'm against Hamas. I'm against terror. I'm against all that stuff. If you're out there protesting for a Palestinian state, this is what you are protesting for. John in Lakewood says, don't give him the notoriety unless to ridicule him. Otherwise, banish him to anonymity. Yeah, that seems to be the going thing. I don't know if we should pull that song, Kevin. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, including Bob Ferguson is now asking for Donald Trump's help. Has hell frozen over? We'll tell you why when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, we're having a contest for you to win four tickets to the Bremerton Air Show going on right now at KVI.com. That's right. Plus, while you're there, you can actually see a fun little trip down memory lane that I put up there today for everybody. It's an article about how when John Carlson and Kirby Wilbur were actually gone after by the PDC because they were helping get an initiative passed. If that sounds familiar to a bunch of you that have been following the Odyssey with Brandy Cruz, Let's Go Washington, and Brian Haywood, you will really appreciate this because this same thing happened to KVI back in 2007, and John Carlson and Kirby Wilbur won the fight. So that article is up with legal analysis and discussing what's happening today over at KVI.com. So while you're there, enter for the contest and check out that article about when KVI beat the PDC and the people who are trying to pass a gas tax. It's all right there. Switching gears, I find it very entertaining that when these radicals get into office, they sometimes realize they can't keep their promises. So we're talking about Katie Wilson the other day. Oh, you mean when you insult Starbucks, Starbucks leaves town, and now you got problems and now they won't pay for things anymore? Oh, shame. I guess bye didn't really work, did it now? Well, remember Bob Ferguson? Everything he says about Donald Trump, everything is Donald Trump's fault, to blame. Never mind the fact that him and Jay Inslee destroyed the Washington Department of Transportation. Between all the layoffs because of the COVID, because, a person can't work in a toll booth by themselves during the COVID, or you might get the Rona, or a person can't work in a pilot house by themselves, or you might get the Rona. They still fired everybody. On top of that, their green insanity, they didn't do anything about the ferry fleet, and then when they finally did, they said, let's go green, let's get these electric suckers. Sir, we don't have anybody who could build those in the state. Oh, okay, right. Who do we get them from? Let's buy them from Florida or somebody else. Yeah, so our ferry system is a disaster. It's one of the largest in the U.S., if not the world, and yet it's an absolute disaster right now. Well, now Turd Ferguson is asking the federal government, a.k.a. Donald Trump, for help. Here's Fox 13 with the story.
Governor Bob Ferguson and other state leaders say our ferry system needs more federal money. This comes after our state awarded a contract for 3 new ferries to a company in Florida last year because it costs significantly less. Fox 13's Dan Griffin asked the governor about the cost of doing business in our state and the challenge of competition.
The governor says investment from the feds is a lifeline for our state ferries. It's one of many ways they're crunching the numbers as some companies set their eyes elsewhere and others may do the same.
Our fleet is aging. Our system is aging.
Governor Bob Ferguson is joining other officials pushing for millions of more federal dollars to keep Washington State Ferries, the country's largest ferry system, afloat. In 2025, the governor picked a Florida-based shipbuilder for 3 new 160 hybrid electric ferries at $714 million. A Washington-based firm quoted the order at $350 million more than that.
It's always my hope, that we can do that construction here in Washington State. But just to be perfectly candid, those bids have to be more competitive.
At the time, State Representative Andrew Barkas said it wasn't the company's fault, but the state's taxes and regulations.
We can't compete in this business now going to Florida, another state that's going to reap the benefits.
Sound familiar? With Starbucks brewing a new base in Nashville, one has to wonder if it costs too much to do business here.
We just want to make sure we're doing everything we can to be supportive of Starbucks and to make sure that the CEO and the company is hearing that directly from me.
Tech layoffs have shocked the system. Downtown Seattle office vacancies hit a record high this year. The Association of Washington Businesses says a survey shows nearly 1 in 4 are debating packing up. The millionaire's tax is part of that equation. Last month, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson said,
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are super overblown. And if, the ones that leave, bye.
Governor Ferguson hopes maybe not so fast.
We are excited about the new businesses that are coming in and also want to preserve the businesses that we have. And when it comes to millionaires, it's the same thing.
At last check, the delivery of the first of the 3 new ferries is expected before the start of the next decade. The governor did not have a specific date today. Reporting at the Seattle Ferry Terminal, Dan Griffin, Fox 13 News.
There's so much to unpack there. So much. So what you're telling me is you can't afford to do business in Washington because it's too expensive, so you're rewarding contracts out there elsewhere? In fact, even Washington State can't afford to do business in Washington State, so they're buying the ferries from Florida. Oh, maybe it's all those minimum wage regulations, or maybe it's all those green regulations, or maybe it's all the damage you've done to business. with your crazy taxes that they have to roll that over onto the customer. And this time the customer is Washington State. So if Washington State wants to take its business out of Washington State, why wouldn't Starbucks? Why wouldn't anybody else? These high labor costs aren't just affecting the ferry system. They affect everything. In fact, you want to know why your groceries are so expensive? Yes, gas prices are high. Yes, part of that is because of the war. But that's not the whole story. In fact, they're high for another reason.
Washington apples to Rainier cherries, farmers say Washington's agriculture is crumbling. USDA data shows 2 farms are closing in the state every single day, and that is threatening the future of Washington's fruit basket. KARE 7's Brandon Thompson shows us the dire steps they're taking just to make ends meet and what it means for what you get at the store.
As the growing season is underway in central Washington.
Washington State is the tree fruit leader in the nation.
Blaine Smith checks on his pear orchard that he's worked on since he was a kid.
I officially started farming on my own in 2006 after my dad.
Across the Wenatchee River Valley, growers that have worked the land for decades.
I was born in Mexico and I came here in 1985. When I was 18, 19 years old.
Are watching the farms that used to make them money now start to cost them.
I have my job is a priority. I have this and beside. Yeah, this is my free time.
Yeah, what was it like in 1991 when you first started working on some of these orchards?
That was a lot better situation.
How so?
The money what you make in working into the orchards, that was plenty of money to provide to my family.
And today, it's just better not to farm at all. You don't lose money.
And a lot of money has been lost. Save Family Farming reports from the latest data available that in 2023, Washington farms made nearly $1.5 billion. The next year, it dropped by more than $1 billion, with farms collectively nearly $300 million in debt.
Our overall, our prices that we were getting paid is the same as it was 30 years ago, but our price getting paid here and our costs are clear up here. So anybody can do that math.
Labor is the main driver, according to Smith. Before 2020, all these growers say they would pay migrant workers based on how much they picked during the nonstop harvest season. But in 2022, Washington law changed to mandate overtime for work over 40 hours a week, upending that system.
If they can afford it, then we'll be happy to work overtime. But now that they just not making any profit, all the guys are working just 40 hours a week and that's it.
And if they want to make more hours, now they got to go get a second or third job somewhere else.
Blaine says a bin of pears costs him $250 to produce, but he gets paid $60 for it. A Washington State University study shows for apples, it costs an average of $54 to produce a box across the state, but the market is only paying $40.
The farmer gets paid last and takes the risk first.
How do you make those ends meet?
We don't. We're selling properties.
So many growers across Washington are spending more money than what they will get from their crops each year. It means they're going to have to make some tough choices. This field actually used to be more than half of Leo's pear orchard, but instead of sprouting trees, soon it will sprout new houses.
That was not very easy because I want to keep going as a grower. I like to be a farmer.
Yeah, but now regulations and costs have made it almost impossible to do so. Those are policies implemented by Democrats. Can't blame Donald Trump for that, Bob Ferguson. Farmers can't do business here. Small businesses can't do business here. Big businesses can't do businesses here. And that's why they're all leaving. This is what you get with 40 years of one-party rule. You absolutely destroy the economy. And as if it wasn't bad enough heading into Ferguson's term, Ferguson and the Democrats just came along and curb-stomped our economy. Up next, my friends, Chloe Cole was banned from the University of Washington because they're worried about her event being attacked. We'll talk about all this with her when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I got to give you a little peek behind the curtain for this interview. Sometimes we pre-record interviews because of people's schedule or worried about tech issues when we're out in the field. Or sometimes it's just because that's the time a person has and we want to highlight an event that's coming up and we want to make sure it runs the day of the event or before the event. You never know. So Chloe Cole, we spoke about her earlier on the show. She is a detransitioner who's on the Pick Up the Mic tour for Turning Point USA. Pick Up the Mic is they're sending different people, different personalities out to college campuses to pick up the mic and do what Charlie Kirk does and answer questions. Now, Chloe Cole was a girl who tried to transition to being a boy, realized how messed up that was, and went back to being a girl. She was going to be going to the University of Washington campus tonight. But the problem is, now it is unsafe for her to do so. Antifa has targeted her. Anti-Israel groups have targeted her. You name it, every activist has targeted her, where now UW Police, Seattle Police, and her own security team said, we cannot guarantee your safety. That's how dangerous it is at the University of Washington. That's how dangerous it is in Seattle. Think about that. You cannot guarantee the safety of a speaker at the University of Washington. That's how bad it is. Now, we did an interview with Chloe yesterday. Yesterday we interviewed her, and we were going to run it today for the event. There was a lot of news yesterday. The whole PDC violation kind of took over the show yesterday. We were going to run it today and say, hey, come out to UW. But now the event has been canceled. It's been postponed, I should say. Chloe Cole will be back, but it's been postponed. And now you may think to yourself, what's the point of running this interview? Because Chloe told me the message she was going to be giving at the University of Washington tonight. So we recorded this yesterday before the event was postponed, but it still has Chloe's message. And I want you to listen very, very carefully, because when she talks about transitioning to a boy and then transitioning back to being a girl, you can hear the emotion in her voice, even through the radio. Give a listen.
Thank you so much for having me on the program.
Such a pleasure. Did you kind of giggle a little bit when you saw the flyer of the protest against you, which has the Palestinian flag next to the trans flag?
Oh, I laughed. It's always so shocking to me how these protesters are so willing, these like gay and transgender and like otherwise like queer lifestyle protesters, they're so willing to ally with a country that literally wants people like them dead and their lifestyle, not just the American lifestyle, but their way of life to be eradicated from the earth.
Yeah, I find it completely entertaining and crazy at the same time that it looks like every group on this flyer that's coming out to protest you is a pro-Hamas organization. I don't see any of the pro-trans LGBTQIA organizations on this flyer, just the pro-Hamas ones.
Well, it's such a weird phenomenon to see. It's like they're completely blind to the cultural difference that's there, and how, I mean, we're in one of the freest countries in the entire world, and yet they make all these claims that we are this fascist country that is removing the rights of gay people and transgender people, and that speakers like me are literally infringing upon their human rights just by talking about another side of this issue as somebody who's lived through it. But it has absolutely, I mean, it really doesn't seem to have anything to do with what I'm actually speaking about.
No, of course not. So let's talk about what you're speaking about. So you're a detransition activist. What does that actually mean for our audience who may not know?
Yeah, so I have actually been through a so-called gender transition during my childhood. Between the ages of 12 to 16, I went through a social and medical process of first going on puberty-blocking drugs to stop my puberty in its tracks, and then high doses of male hormones to make me appear to change from a young woman into a young man. And at 15 years old, before I could even legally drive a car, I had a double mastectomy surgery to get rid of my breasts. It wasn't until after I had that surgery that I realized none of this is actually helping me. This life that I've been promised is a complete scam. And maybe one day I might want to have children of my own. It's very possible that I could have been sterilized and not able to get pregnant, or obviously after having my breast removed, I'm never going to be able to breastfeed my future children. And I didn't know until I got just a little bit older, how important those things would be to me. And after I detransitioned, I realized there has been real medical harm that's been caused not just to me, but to an entire generation of children who are in my situation, who in decades before would have just been called creative boys or kids who have autism or tomboyish girls. And what is happening right now to my generation is a crime, and somebody needs to speak up against it. So I've been dedicating the last 4 years of my life to doing exactly that.
We're talking with Chloe Cole, and she's a detransition activist. Now, Chloe, when we've had other people on the show who went through what you went through, usually there was like a straw that broke the camel's back, that then they opened their eyes to everything else, and the whole belief structure kind of fell apart. Was it that way for you as well?
Absolutely. And it's not like it was really just a single moment that broke the illusion of my transition. I mean, I thought for years that I was happy, that I was genuinely supposed to be a young man, and that I would be happy in that role. But I started to realize over time that there were certain things about being a man, just socially. There were so many responsibilities and the sort of loneliness that I think is almost a universal experience amongst most young men my age, actually. And the grass really was not greener on the other side. But what really broke me was having surgery, getting rid of my breasts. And I mean, being at such a tender young age, it made it especially difficult to deal with the surgery and the post-op process, and the loneliness of that. But it was just maturing a little bit and thinking about what I really wanted in the future that made me learn this is not going to help me achieve that. This is not going to be conducive to my adult life in any way. And there are real quantifiable things that I have lost, including my own childhood innocence, because adults convinced me that I was born in the wrong body, and the only way to fix my temporary feelings was by going down a permanent path of experimental medicine.
In the last few minutes, we have with Chloe Cole, who's a detransition activist who's speaking at the University of Washington. So you have a very powerful message. You have a very sincere message, and I can hear it in your voice when you talk about it, as I'm sure my audience can. So why do these activists not like you? I mean, I would think that I want to go debate people who disagree with me, and instead they're threatening you with violence for even coming to the University of Washington.
Well, the very existence of detransitioners, I think, highlights an insecurity in the ideology that claims that sex and gender are two separate things, that they exist on a spectrum, and that gender identity, even though it's fluid, it somehow is also fixed, and you can't change somebody being transgender. The detransitioners only highlight the importance of biological sex and also just how destructive and really fabricated this entire ideology is. And so that when they see somebody like me come back out of it, who has a powerful message like this that tears all of it down, they literally want us dead.
Yeah, that's horrifying. That's absolutely horrifying. It's people who can't deal with the fact that somebody might disagree with them, so they have to eliminate it. I'll take everybody back to when they were ripping down the hostage flyers that were all over the place. They just didn't even want to see something that might disprove their ideology. Chloe Cole, you're very, very brave. Appreciate you coming out to the University of Washington. Really appreciate you joining us today as well.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Now, that last line that she said, given the fact that now the event has had to be postponed because she said they wanted her dead, they wanted her dead. They didn't even want to have a conversation with her because it destroys their entire worldview. She's with Turning Point USA. When somebody says they want you dead, the images we all saw of Charlie Kirk's assassination flash into mind. She wasn't safe coming to University of Washington, in Seattle, Washington, in the most progressive city, in the most progressive county, in the most progressive state in the world. How crazy is that? How insane is that? And if we can't guarantee her safety, who else's safety can we not guarantee? Up next, lots more to discuss as the show continues. Will Katie Wilson copy Mom Donnie's budget? More of your calls, more of your texts. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Some of you said you were having issues with the contest over at KVI.com. They are all sorted out. We're good to go. So head on over to KVI.com. You can enter to win 4 tickets to the Bremerton Air Show, July 11th through 12th. That's right. We're going to be out there on the 12th hanging out with you. It's going to be a lot of fun out at the Bremerton Air Show. So head on over to KVI.com right now for your chance to win. A lot of reactions to the stories we just did here. A lot of reactions. This one here from Becky and Enumclaw. I don't understand why the University of Washington allows this kind of behavior from the protesters that threaten another person's life. And again, I want to know who these protesters are. How old are they? Where are they from? Who is paying them? You're right. You're 100% right. I mean, here's the crazy thing. You literally had terrorists giving out material at the University of Washington. People were part of organizations that are designated U.S. terrorist groups like Sami Dun on campus giving out Hamas propaganda. You had their little encampment there for a month, or was it 6 weeks, where they were assaulting people. Nobody did anything about it because free speech? That's not a free speech issue. They're assaulting people. They are breaking the law. Why aren't they getting arrested? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. This one here, somebody says they're running for office. Okay, guys, if you're running for office, you email me. Email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. We will talk about it there. This one from Murphy. Murphy says that Fox 13 just had the bad version of Trump saying he doesn't care about American finances. Okay, let's do this again so everybody understands what we're talking about here. President Trump was asked a question about the war, and everybody's clipping his response and making it appear as if he doesn't care about Americans' finances. Here's how that actually went down.
Mr. President, when you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that matters.
He's right. That's political courage, which is we want them not to have a nuke. We don't want to die in a mushroom cloud. We don't want to be incinerated. So we want to make sure they don't have a nuke. Everything else is secondary. We'll fix everything else afterwards. You could go back to the beginning of the show where I did my whole analysis of the New World Order in a good way that could be taking place right now, the reorganization of the world economy right now. But everybody's clipping it as if he just doesn't care. They don't show you what the reporter asked. They don't show you it was about the war. They don't show you any of that. So shame on Fox 13 for just showing the abridged version out of context. I mean, shame. A lot of people liked having Chloe Cole on the show. I'll actually see if she's available to come back now that her talk has been canceled. So we'll check that out. A lot of people also very, very, very concerned about that story that Cairo 7 did about the farmers and how so many farms are closing and shutting down. And don't you always hear them say, oh, we're helping our small farmers. We're helping our small. No, you're not. No, you're not. Not at all. Not at all. This one here from the 360. Turd Ferguson has so many rules and regulations in the state. So what did he do? He buys ferries made in Florida, where it's cheaper than his own state because of his own policies. Exactly right. Becky added, this is really scary report on the farming. Does Bob Ferguson take any responsibility for that? He's been with the Democratic Party with Inslee for years. Are they ever embarrassed? No. What do they do, Becky? You know the answer. They just blame Trump. This one here, Craig and Puyallup, old joke, but Craig says, a farmer I know said, if you ever want to make a small fortune, start as a farming, let me do that again. If you want to make a small fortune farming, start with a large one. Yes, old joke, but now it's even worse. This one here, yesterday I read the brief version of the new October 7th report on Not the Bee. Dave says it completely unsettled me to the core. A new term had been invented, kinocide, a form of violence where familial bonds are heavily weaponized to inflict maximum psychological trauma and societal degradation, utterly sick. Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. This one here from Jay. Ari, how much prayer to our God does it take to cope with what you have seen and read about October 7th? Well, a lot for me, and I wasn't there. Think about the victims who were there. Think about the people who saw it and survived. They're the ones who need your prayers, Jay. But that's very nice of you to think about. So this one from Marino. Hi, Ari. So sad about hear about all these details. I'm wondering if you heard from Adam Smith's office on what his thoughts were of those people coming to his house at 3 o'clock in the morning. I will say this, Marino. Sometimes I talk to politicians and it's off the record. I will say that. But I did talk to Adam Smith about this. I know his thoughts, and I hope to have him on the show soon to give them to everybody. We'll give you those details another time. Up next, my friends, while Trump is in China, what's J.D. Vance doing with fraud? We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Planet Fitness is canceling membership for a woman who didn't like a dude being in the locker room with her. Give you all details on that, but before we get to any of that, got a couple thoughts here from people over on the text line about Chloe Cole, who we interviewed in the last segment. Chloe Cole is the girl who's a detransitioner who was supposed to be speaking at the University of Washington, and now, because of the amount of threats she had to cancel her event tonight. This one here from L. Darthbo. Ari, Chloe is a very brave young lady. She has my total respect. Those at UW who have said they want her dead are absolutely disgusting lowlifes. More scum of the earth, says L. Darthbo. This one here, Craig and Puyallup isn't surprised about Fox 13 playing the abridged clip of President Trump. He says Fox 13 is the same news station that edited out the siren that was on the Seattle police car that struck the pedestrian a couple of years ago. Online and other stations played the audio with the siren audible. Craig, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I don't remember them editing that out. Now I have to go look that up in between. We will definitely have to go check that one out. Switching gears, so President Trump is over in China right now, and he has a lot of negotiating to do because China is part of the axis of evil. You have China, Iran, Russia, all working together. You had some pretty other bad countries, and some of them have come around to the good side, and some of them are just staying neutral right now. But because China works with Iran, because Russia works with Iran, who are two countries that are being hurt by the war right now, Russia and China. China gets a lot of its energy out of Iran. So President Trump has to work that out. And if you can make gas prices cheaper, if you can reorder the gas so you don't have to worry about the Strait of Hormuz and OPEC or any of that anymore, then guess what? It's going to be cheaper for everybody. These are high-stakes negotiations because if they fail, China right now, here's the only card China has. Here's what China has. They hold a lot of U.S. debt, and we're really stupid. National debt is a national security issue because if they flood the market with our bonds, then guess what? We are going to have a problem because our entire economy will be worth less. Our dollar will be worth less. Our bonds will be worth less. That's bad news. That is an issue. But they want the strait reopened, and right now we're the ones stopping it and stopping their oil from coming out. So they have a problem. They have something we want. Also, we want them to stop stealing IP. There's a lot of things going on right here. But if Trump can successfully get China to tell Iran, give up your nuclear weapons, agree to what the U.S. wants, re-enter the world as a normal country, then guess what? The war is over. The war is over. If not, we'll probably be bombing Iran by the weekend. Most likely, we probably will be. Now, mind you, even if gas gets cheaper, even if the economy soars, something that's still outstanding is how much money the U.S. government spends. We spend too much money. So while you have to do all these things to make things cheaper, one of the best things you can do to make things cheaper is stop the spending that we do where we just print money for it. And that means going after the fraud. So J.D. Vance, while the president is out of the country, J.D. Vance made some announcements with the fraud task force. Here's what he said.
We're announcing that the federal government is deferring $1.3 billion in Medicaid reimbursements from the state of California. And the simple reason is because the state of California has not taken fraud very seriously. And because of that, we see a lot of the consequences that I just referenced. And again, let me highlight the fact that this really is two separate victims. So there are California taxpayers and American taxpayers who are being defrauded because California isn't taking its program seriously. But also you have people who've been prescribed medications that they don't even need. Sometimes they've had drugs put into their bodies that they don't need because fraudsters have actually encouraged false prescriptions and false administration of medications. So think about this. You're just a person trying to go see a doctor. You assume that your doctor is doing the right thing, but these fraudulent healthcare providers are getting rich by giving people medications they don't even need. It's a defrauding of the American taxpayer, but it's a violation of the trust that should exist between every American and the people who prescribe the medications. That's one thing that we're targeting. And this is why we're taking this action, is because we want California to get serious about this fraud.
That's another ding on Gavin Newsom. Now, also states, don't you want to get rid of the fraud because then you can use federal dollars for other things? No, we'll just keep giving it to all the people who vote for us. And if we keep the gravy train running, they're going to keep voting for us. That's what they're going to do. So what exactly were they finding when they were analyzing these billions of dollars in fraud in California? Here's what else the Veep said.
So, Dr. Oz, I want to make sure I understand this well. So you're saying that we kicked off 800 fraudulent healthcare providers off of the Medicare system, and not a single one of them called the government and said, hey, you made a mistake.
We've had a handful of calls. We're not sure they're legitimate yet, but it's less than 20 out of 800, and we're auditing them.
Unbelievable. So at least 780 are not even trying to claim that they're not fraudulent. And again, those are businesses that we were giving hundreds of millions, in some cases billions of dollars to, not to provide services, but to make a fraudster rich. It's just completely insane. Drives home the scale and scope of the problem.
Wait. Hang on a second. This is just like the daycares all over again. You remember when Nick Shirley exposed all the fraudulent daycares out there in Minnesota? You would expect, if these were real daycares, for the parents and the kids to be all upset. You closed our school! How dare you close our school! But nobody protested because there were no kids, because there were no parents, because there were fraudulent daycares. So now, when you cut off $1.3 billion to California in Medicaid fraud, out of 700, or was it 800? 700 of these allegedly fraudulent locations, maybe 20 called to complain? Maybe 20? Like, hey guys, you cut us off and you really should have given us. So 780 or 680 of these places didn't even bother to call because they knew they've been had. Lots of people need to go to jail. Lots of people need to go to jail. What else did they find out about this? Or rather, where's all the politicians that should be yelling and screaming? Where's all the California politicians that should be all mad about this? Shouldn't they be talking about it?
There are going to be some, I'm sure, some politicians who say what you're doing here is harming the Medicaid program. We're trying to save the Medicaid program from dysfunctional state bureaucrats. If you allow hundreds of millions, billions, even more money to go out the door, not to healthcare services for low-income families, but to fraudsters, you eventually are going to destroy the Medicaid program. So this is why we say red state, blue state, this does not need to be a political or a partisan issue. We want to work with you to eliminate fraud and make these programs last longer for the people who truly need them.
Exactly right. You want to know the kind of stuff they're spending money on? It's not just in the Medicaid, Medicare, any of that. Chris Rufo over at City Journal has this article out. The Newsom administration approved a $189 million contract to provide new digital tablets, generic flat-screen devices in a plastic shell, to every inmate in the state prison system at no cost to offenders. The administration heralded the effort to replace inmates' old tablets, which were piloted in 2018 and given to nearly all prisoners by 2023, as a step towards digital equity for justice-impacted individuals who could, in theory, use the devices to contact their families, consume educational content, and learn new technology. Surprise, surprise. Guess what? That's not what they used it for. What do you think a bunch of guys sitting in prison use their tablets for? What do you think? Do you need to guess what they used it for? You know what they used it for. City Journal contacted dozens of death row inmates who told them that the prisoners use the state system to watch pornography and have explicit sexual conversations with family members. I guess we're not doing conjugal visits anymore. This is just easier, right? Some prisoners, according to former high-ranking California correction officials, use their tablets to groom minors, so creating all new kinds of offenses while you're in prison. Though the state has claimed to regulate explicit content, the inmates told us that they can easily evade detection. When reached for comment, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation said the tablets were a tightly controlled education. Oh, you're getting education, all right. Sex education that provided inmates with access to the Bible. I'm sure it is. I'm sure. It provides access to education and reentry resources. That's what you're calling it. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Kevin's shaking his head at me. They say that will actually reduce crime. If you're grooming minors with your tablet, you're not reducing crime. Inmates said the devices have become personal sex machines In the words of one inmate, California's death row is populated with, I can't read that. I'm not reading that on air. I am not reading that on air. In fact, I'm not reading the rest of this article. It's so graphic about what's going on, but that's what your tax dollars are going towards in California. Maybe we should look into the fraud a little bit, just a smidgen, just a little bit, and ask why you have tablets for the inmates. Something wrong with the prison library? Prison's not supposed to be fun. Prison's not supposed to be nice. It's supposed to be that you don't want to do it again. And maybe you learn a trade in there. Well, I don't want to know what they're learning from the tablets in there. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from our good friend Alma. Alma, what's going on?
Oh, I'm doing fine. What about yourself?
Alma, the sun is shining. I can see boats out on the water. I have you on the phone. What more could I want in life?
Nothing but heaven.
I want to go to heaven, but I'm not ready for that yet, Alma. I'm not ready for that yet. What's on your mind today?
I was thinking they sent that man named Trump over there to negotiate. He can't negotiate with two little kids in the kindergarten. They should have sent J.D. Vance. They should have sent. And about that fraud you're talking about, he took Elon Musk and and his two sons, that the big fraud getters in the world, over there taking all kind of money. No, what can we say? What can we say?
Okay.
He don't need to be over there.
Well, hang on one second, Alma. Hang on. I want to drill down on what you're saying today. I want to drill down on it a little bit, okay? So you would rather J.D. Vance go negotiate? So would that mean you would want to vote for J.D. Vance one day?
It ain't that serious now, my boy, my friend. I don't know.
All right, hang on. Alma, I want to play a little game with you, okay? I just want to know where you're at with this, okay? If it's J.D. Vance versus Gavin Newsom in the next election, who are you voting for?
You're not even that's not even a question. I'm voting for Gavin Newsom on point.
Wait. So you're voting for the guy with fraud rampant in his state rather than the guy going after the fraud, Alma?
That's interstate. Trump got. If he was voted in twice, he's the biggest fraudster in the world. Wait
a second. You think the elections weren't legitimate, Alma?
Yeah, no, the election was legitimate to a certain extent, but Harris really won. And then these little boys talking about being the richest family in the world. Come on now. They're not supposed to take money like that. Now, be honest now.
Okay, so hang on. You want me to be honest, Alma? Here we go. I'm always honest with you. I'm always honest with my audience. Let me do this. I have serious concerns about Elon Musk and China. Elon Musk's batteries for the Teslas are made in China. I don't like that those battery places are right near where they keep the Uyghur Muslims because I'm worried who's building the batteries. I am truly concerned about that. And what I would really like to see for Elon Musk, and this is an issue I've had with him for a very, very long time, and I like what he did with Twitter, and I like what he did with Doge. Can you imagine the announcement if he said he's building that battery factory in the U.S.? I'd be so much happier, right?
I would too, but that's not going to happen.
But why not? I actually think, wait a second, Alma. What if Elon Musk goes over to China and he says, guys, I don't want to do this anymore. We're going to build these factories in the U.S. If he comes back and announces that, would you be happy?
Oh, you would too. But you know what? I can't understand those guys. They should have took somebody who knew exactly what they were talking about. How in the world they take those two guys?
Well, hang on a second here, okay? When Trump took Jared Kushner to the Middle East, Jared Kushner helped him negotiate the Abraham Accords. Do you think that was a good thing or a bad thing?
But Trump did what? Say that again, I'm sorry.
Sorry, do you think the Abraham Accords, which were negotiated by Jared Kushner and Donald Trump, do you think that was a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't think anything Jared Kushner do is a good thing because he's only making money for his foundations and money to go to him. Yeah, he probably did a deal, but he got billions and millions of dollars.
But wait a second here, Alma. He negotiated peace with countries in the Middle East. You don't think that's a good thing?
Whatever they do, this family in the White House, this regime in the White House, is all for themselves. They'll do a little bit. What did Trump say about the American people? He ain't worried about the nuclear bomb. He ain't worried about no economy and all that. Come on.
Well, Alma, we did that on the show. We played the whole clip for you. You know what I worry about, Alma? I worry about you and your family and that individual I hear speaking in the back every time you call. I worry about you guys. Are you doing okay today?
Yes, we are. And that's Michael Buchanan, and he wants to talk, but he's afraid. I ain't scared.
He's afraid of me? Shouldn't be afraid of me, Alma. I'm a very sweet guy. I wish you guys only health every time you call, all right?
Let me talk. Thank you.
All right. Okay. You guys have a wonderful day. Enjoy the weather. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, while all this fraud is being investigated in Los Angeles and in California, somebody really needs to do this to New York. So you have these New York schools which are failing, which kids are leaving in record numbers, and yet they keep funding them at the exact same level. A new report by the New York City School Construction Authority projects that city schools will lose 153,000 students over the next 10 years. Now, why are they projecting this out? Because they need to know if they're building more schools or repairing more schools or upgrading more schools or getting rid of more schools. And they say they're projected to lose 153,000 students. So why are we building more schools? They should be selling the buildings. Well, is anybody moving into New York? Or do private schools want those buildings? Or should we just sell them and turn them into condos or homeless housing or something like that? And yet you keep funding the New York schools at the same level. Why do you think somebody like Mamdani is funding everything at the exact same level? Oh, right. Teachers unions, right? Mamdani came out with a big announcement that now he passed his big mega budget, got everything he wanted except, not really. Basically, what he did was he got bailed out by Kathy Hochul and the state, played some budget tricks, and then raised taxes. In fact, don't take my word for it. Here's the video he put out.
New York, it's executive budget season. And I'm proud to announce that our city's budget is fully balanced. This budget isn't just about numbers on a page. It determines if our libraries get funded, if a street is safe to cross, if snow is actually shoveled after a storm. And you deserve to know exactly how we got here. We inherited a $12 billion budget deficit. We are speaking about a fiscal crisis at the scale greater than the Great Recession. Was the Great Recession? Great Recession. Many said the only way out of this was slashing services and passing an austerity budget. We rejected that. After months of painstaking work, that deficit is now zero. Our city is now on firm financial ground. We achieved this in two major ways: increasing revenue and support from Albany and cutting waste and finding savings here in New York City.
Stop. You did not cut waste or find savings in New York City. You can say that all you want, but that is not what you did. Instead, you got money from Albany, so you had the state bail you out. You raised taxes, and you kicked the can down the road where when you could delay things for a few years, you delayed things for a few years. So in raising the taxes, you are chasing out the people who pay the taxes. And getting the money from Albany, that's not sustainable. They're not going to be able to afford it because when you chase people out by raising the taxes, they can't pay the state taxes either.
Thanks to Governor Hochul, State Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, and months of organizing from New Yorkers, we tax the rich.
You admit it right there. You tax the rich. And now you've got people like Ken Griffin who are pulling billions of dollars of investment and employees and workers out of New York. Well done. I don't think this is going to work out the way you want, no matter how many pop-up video sounds you add to your little video there. Pop-up video.
That tax alone will raise $500 million per year. And that's not all. Thanks to Governor Hochul and our partners in Albany, we finally got a better deal for New York City. We're getting billions more from the state to help tackle the gap.
The state isn't going to have that money anymore because you chased everybody out. It's just like here in Washington, just like here in Seattle. They never learn. Why did I mention the school story? Because if you're losing 153,000 students, you're losing their parents. Maybe I should check in with my new friends at Seattle Public Schools and see what their projections are for people staying or going. That could be an interesting story. Up next, my friends, a lot more going on, including wasteful spending that we're spending for the World Cup and possibly a new football stadium. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, we are running our contest right now over at KVI.com for your chance to win four tickets to the Bremerton Air Show, July 11th through 12th. So head on over to KVI.com for your chance to win. While you're there, sign up to become a KVI Insider. And also, you can check out some new articles we just put up that are there for you before we even do them on the show tomorrow. So check them out. That's how you can see tomorrow's news today. Well, my friends, I saw this and I almost had a heart attack. And this is something I have issues with. I love sports. I love baseball. I can't believe my Knicks are doing well, who I haven't followed in 20 years. I seriously have no idea who's even on the team. I just hear they're in the semifinals, the finals. See, I don't even know. And I'm like, holy cow, the Knicks are doing well? Like, really well? I was shocked by this. That's how long it's been since I followed the Knicks.
Well, it's the Ari Hoffman way to wait for them to become winners once again and then be like, oh, let me jump on that bandwagon that's going by right now.
Do you see any Knicks paraphernalia
Not
in
yet.
this? I don't have any. I don't have any. I'm not even buying any, okay?
Give it time.
Not going to do that. Not going to do it.
Your
Just
allegiance
not gonna do
to
it.
New York has no bounds.
What do you mean? I hung up the Seahawks stuff. I like that kind of stuff. I do the Seahawks thing. I don't do Jets or Jets. Jets. That's right. I like sports. I like going to Seahawks games. I like going to Kraken games. I like all this around here. But I saw this, and it was a report in ESPN from Seth Wickersham. He was talking about the sale. Remember on Friday we were talking about this? Oh, could the Celtics owner buy him? Could the 49ers owner buy him? There's a little line in there where he says the Seahawks, this is a quote, might also need a new stadium in the coming years. Timeout. Is something wrong with Lumen Field? It's not like the Kingdome where the ceiling was falling down on people. There's nothing wrong with Lumen Field. What is this? A stadium's 20 years old and now you got to get a new one? I mean, seriously, how old is when they built Lumen Field? 2002? 2003? Something like that? It had just been built when I moved here. They just finished the sucker when I moved here.
I'll tell you what, when they were talking about that for the Sonics back when it was Key Arena, you'd go in there and you could kind of get it.
Yeah.
I remember because I think Key Arena wasn't a full rebuild of the Coliseum. I think it was like a kind of, I guess it was, but it just wasn't a tear down sort of, you know what I mean? Even Climate Pledge hasn't
back up a second here. I'm missing some history. There was a Coliseum, and then Key Arena took over the Coliseum?
Yeah, it was the Seattle Coliseum, which turned into Key Arena, which now is Climate Pledge. Now, Climate Pledge, they tore it all down.
Except for the roof. They raised the
roof and then dug deep down and all that stuff. But Key Arena, in the end there, when I went to some of the Sonics games, was getting kind of beat up.
It was.
Down.
I heard that. I did hear that.
And I've, T-Mobile, which was, various names as well, and Lumen, whenever I go still to this point, I don't look at it and go like, oh man.
No.
And T-Mobile's older than Lumen at this point, if I remember
T-Mobile
correctly.
opened in 99. I think that's when they had the All-Star game, 98, 99,
So I
something
could
like
be
that.
wrong, but they were kind of close. Were they kind of close to each other?
They were close, but I remember is that Lumen Field opened afterwards. I do
Okay,
remember
that's what
that.
I thought too.
Yeah, it did.
I've been to both recently.
Yeah.
While I'm there, I didn't think, boy, they really need to. I did at Key Arena, but not yet for those two. They still seem pretty nice.
Key Arena, I agree with you. I went to the last season of the Sonics. I went to a few games. And I remember looking around going, this place is a dump.
Yeah.
I mean, dump. And look, I grew up going to Shea Stadium. Shea Stadium was built in 1962. They tore it down in 2008. So they tore it down in 2008. And by the time they tore it down, I mean, that building was leaking. If it rained, water was coming from places water should not be coming from because the thing's 50 years old at that point. It was a dump. Key Arena, it wasn't at that stage yet. The Kingdome, the ceiling falling in.
The Kingdome started off as a dump.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It was all just gray concrete, everything.
I've only seen
there.
pictures. I've never been inside the thing. But I've got friends who told me they had pieces of the stadium because you could just basically grab them off the walls and walk out with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of bad shape it was in.
I was really young. I don't remember a whole lot. I remember it being like impressive as a kid because it's a dome, and like even going by the Tacoma Dome when I was a kid, I was like, "This is awesome." But yeah, it was just such a depressing sort of place to be in.
No, I was at the football stadium. I was at Lumen Field or CenturyLink or whatever they call it these days. I was at Lumen Field right before the playoffs. Right before the playoffs, I was there. And it was fine. Not just fine, it's good.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it. There's no problem with it. I go at least once or twice a year to a football game. It's great. And what, you don't have enough amenities? Here's something else. Whenever they build a new stadium, they always build them smaller. And by that, I mean they prioritize the skyboxes or whatever it is, and there's less seats in the stadium. What's the best thing about Lumen Field? The noise, the volume, and everybody complained, why aren't you doing this in a dome? And, well, you want to sit outside like at the Husky game or whatever. Lumen Field is a good stadium. It's in good shape. It's a good stadium. You want a new stadium out of this? Because then what's going to happen? They're going to come to the city. Hey, Seattle, you want to keep your Seahawks here? How much you going to give us for your new That's a nice football team you have there. Be a shame if anything happened to it. Look, if you told me at Lumen Field, you want to enclose some of those areas and make it more accessible, I think there are some goofy parts of it. I do. You want to do a little bit of a facelift and figure out some access points and add some seats in some of those big open areas? God bless you. I don't want the city paying for it, but God bless you. But you think you need a new stadium for this owner? Are you kidding me with this nonsense? And I don't want to be paying for it. Here's something else. You can afford to pay what you're paying for those players. You can afford to pay for the stadium. This always bothers me. Oh, we can afford $750 million for an outfielder. And then you want the city to pay for your stadium? No, shut up. No, if you think it's worth the money, you invest the money. Or better yet, how about the taxpayers get a piece of that team? How about we do that? The thing that really ticked me off is when you had banks naming stadiums during the Great Recession. So the U.S. government just bailed out a bunch of these banks. And then all of a sudden, what'd you notice? There are all these stadiums with bank names on them. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with this? Whatever. Anywho, they want a new stadium. Let me know what you think. You think we need to redo the football stadium? By the way, I think T-Mobile, it's not Safeco anymore. T-Mobile, I think it looks great. I don't have any problem with that either. I don't think it's showing its age.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. These people are nuts. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I think back in the day when they would build things like the Kingdom was a multi-purpose, hey, we're going to use this for everything. And for a while there, I think I saw something online. There was a time where the Sonics, the Seahawks, and the Mariners were playing in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just an awful setup. There's not one person that goes, oh, that was great for all of that.
Right. The multi-purpose ones where not hockey and basketball, that's the exception.
The exception.
But when you do like football and baseball and all this stuff, you always have to move all the bleachers and everything, and it always does more wear and tear on the stadium every single time. So, yeah, I think that's why they have the two stadiums instead of the Kingdom, because the baseball and football thing don't work out too well.
And the problem they're having, too, is now that they've become savvy in the last few years when these places were built, they kind of sort of future-proofed them to an extent where the technology was still pretty good and they set up the suites and all that stuff. Because that was a big thing with the Key Arena, if I remember correctly.
They wanted the suites.
The suites weren't very good. Which makes sense. But now a lot of this modern stuff, I don't know how much better it can actually be at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. What, better plush leather? Then get new leather. You don't need to tear down the whole building. Oh, well, let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, are the tools of government being weaponized against you? One of the New York Post editorial staff will be stopping by to talk to us about it. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, my friends, we are watching how the left is trying to destroy America's institutions, but also how you can never be left enough for the radical left. They're now challenging everybody who we saw as radical lefties with more radical people out here in Washington. Of course, you know, we have somebody from CARE, which has terror ties, now challenging one of the most far left people we used to beat up on the show all the time about their progressive policies. And because there's so few Republicans to vote for, we may end up coming down on the side of the far lefty just so that a terrorist adjacent person isn't the one holding that seat. Joining us now to discuss all this, Associate Editorial Board Editor for the New York Post and author of Weaponize, the Left's Capture and Destruction of America's Sacred Institutions, Seth Barron. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Ari. Thank you for having me on.
Such a pleasure. So tell us about the book, because you've been covering this for a long time.
I have. Well, the premise of the book is that, America was founded on the idea that the people are sovereign, right? And that power is vested in the individuals and in the communities they inhabit. The left, in my thesis, loathes this because the left is all about central control, like wrapping up power and pulling it up from the base up into more and more unaccountable spheres, essentially to put experts in charge of everything. So in my book, I examine like 4 domains where they've done this. I look at the border, or civics, really, border, citizenship, civics. I look at education, I look at policing, and I look at housing. And I look at how the left has essentially weaponized certain core beliefs in order to turn these, to infiltrate these institutions and warp them, twist them, invert them, and turn them against us. They're doing a pretty good job of it. As you out in Seattle probably know, and as I in New York know, this is a major problem. The left, the communists, have essentially, to my eye, taken over a lot of these key these defining institutions: education, housing, civics, and policing. And I'm not going to say that it's all over, but the hour is late.
So basically what you mean is what we're talking about here in Washington State is they took over all the homeless industrial complex, made it the homeless industrial complex, I should say, and then use that to tax us more and more. They figure, hey, if we can take over the police department, they tried defund, that didn't work, so then they get woke police chiefs out here, and then they can make it their police department. They get their prosecutors in place, so it's not abolish the prisons, it's just don't send anybody to jail. Is that the basic idea?
Yes, and the idea being to fund the police, it's not like they ever really wanted to get rid of the police. They just want to be in charge of the police. One of the reasons they hate the police is because they don't control that union doesn't support them. All the other public sector unions, teachers, etc., healthcare, those are all owned by the Democrats, or they own the Democrats, except the police. I think it's not so much that the left doesn't want to arrest people. They just want to arrest different people. They want to arrest, people who think the wrong way or who oppose their efforts, say, to trans children, to resist vaccines, to have meetings about abortion, anything like that. Thought crimes, really.
Right. It reminds me of the Ministry of Truth under the Biden administration, where you post something they don't like and they're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. I mean, Seth, I don't know if you've noticed this, but all of a sudden it seems like now under the Trump administration, it's like somebody pulled the restrictions from social media, where now all of a sudden my Facebook page is getting traffic again. All of a sudden people are seeing my YouTube page again, where beforehand these things were seriously hammered. In fact, I think I got banned from YouTube for interviewing President Trump beforehand. And yet it seems like those restrictions are lifted.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, things are not over. There are ways that we can fight back. And yes, indeed, since Trump came back in, there have been loosenings of certain areas. Like, in higher education, there's a push against, critical race theory and so forth. But see, to my eye, all the woke stuff it's still burning underground, like one of those coal seam fires that can go on for decades. And then as soon as it gets a little oxygen, it flares up again. So look, the left for decades has been doing their long march through the institutions. They've been seeding themselves in every level of government, in the nonprofit world, in law, in the judiciary, in the clergy, in academia, particularly in academia, in the public schools. So they're there. I mean, their soldiers are deep, either undercover or just in plain sight, but they're in there. And the minute they get back in, I expect we'll see a lot of the good stuff undone.
Yeah, this is what I'm concerned about, too. We literally heard Representative Pramila Jayapal say as much last week in a clip we played on the show, where she says DEI is ready to go and elect her, and she'll bring it all back. It's just waiting there, hovering. And in fact, we know in some cases, some college institutions, they've just changed it to diversity, inclusion, and equity to hide what they're actually up to so it doesn't turn up in search results. We're talking with Seth Barron. He's the associate editorial board editor for the New York Post, and he's the author of Weaponize, the Left's Capture and Destruction of America's Sacred Institutions. So, Seth, what you're saying is it doesn't matter that President Trump's in office right now. It doesn't matter if J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or whoever becomes president next, is that there is this undercurrent of whoever's there just waiting for the opportunity to come back no matter how long they're out of power for.
Absolutely. I mean, President Trump can, make changes at the surface. But my argument is that the fabric of America has been largely replaced. It's been enseamed with essentially this communist ideology that is, basically throughout the entire structure of the country. So, look at housing. There's been this move in every state, including yours, to remove the power to zone from the local to the state level. And this is a war against essentially the suburbs, but really against the private ownership of homes. Nothing drives the left crazier than people who own their own homes and want their communities to preserve their home value and to be nice places to live, because it completely messes with their vision of a dense, urbanized, racially, economically, and whatever else mixed communities that are more amenable to central control. And this is happening everywhere. It doesn't, Trump is maybe, the Department of Justice isn't stewing communities quite as, the same way that they did under Biden, but all of this is just waiting there.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we saw happen in the last legislative cycle here in Washington State, where you now have the Democrats say that they can put a homeless shelter wherever they want in the state, which is basically exactly what you're talking about with them controlling things through zoning. The book is Weaponize, the Left's Capture and Destruction of America's Sacred Institutions. The author is Seth Barron, the associate editorial board editor of the New York Post. He also wrote The Last Days of New York. Thank you so much for joining us today, Seth. Really do appreciate it.
I really appreciate it too, Ari. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And just want to remind everybody, check out KVI.com. There are 2 articles I put up there this morning, or young Zach put up there this morning when I wrote them last night, that might interest you. For those of you that have been following the PDC insanity, where they're going after Let's Go Washington and Brian Haywood and Brandy Cruz, I took our 2 interviews with Brian Haywood and Brandy Cruz, threw them into an article with all the details, everything that's developed since then, with the PDC filing, the attacks on Let's Go Washington. That's up there right now. So if you missed it yesterday, it's all there at KVI.com. The other thing we have up there is, we discussed this a lot yesterday, but these PDC complaints that are bogus, that are filed, are basically a rehash of a case that happened in 2007. And the case that happened in 2007 was against KVI. It was against John Carlson. It was against Kirby Wilbur. So we had John Carlson back on the show yesterday. And all the details of that case, including the fact that the ACLU helped KVI defeat this. It's all up there with the interview with John over at KVI.com. Plus, I found a really fun old picture of John and Kirby together. So all that is over at KVI.com. So remember, if I'm not on air, you can always get the podcast at KVI.com. You can stream KVI at KVI.com. You can read the articles over there. And right now, you can also enter for your chance to win 4 tickets to the Bremerton Air Show on July 11th and 12th. We'll be out there on the 12th. You get to see us in person, so head on over to KVI.com. And while you're there, remember to become a KVI Insider. That way, you never miss any details about events, and we got a few in the works we're working on right now. So make sure to go on over to KVI.com and see all that fun stuff that's there. That's right, new and improved KVI.com. Super powered right now. Very awesome. Now, saw this in Variety, and I know some of you are going to roll your eyes and say, really, another one? But I love these stupid movies. It's time to get chocolatey wasted. That's right, because Grown Ups 3 is being worked on right now. Adam Sandler is writing the script together with some of his buddies that you may know. They are working on Grown Ups 3. That's right. See, Kevin doesn't even want this. Kevin doesn't want any Adam Sandler nonsense. Hey, Happy Gilmore 2 wasn't bad.
Hey, I didn't mind Adam Sandler back in the day, but I just have never seen any of these. What is this one?
The Grown Ups.
Okay, I knew there was 1, didn't know there was 2. I don't care.
2 is very stupid. Very stupid. My kids love it because it's really stupid. Grown Ups 1, I really, really liked. I really enjoyed. I assume this one will be stupid, just like number 2. I think the thing I liked about Grown Ups 1 was I was shocked how it was just a normal comedy, not really an Adam Sandler comedy. It was more just, it's him and Kevin James and Rob Schneider and David Spade and Chris Rock, and it was great.
Not many hibbity-doos and shibbity-doos.
No, there was almost none of that. That's the best part about Grown Ups. It's not Adam Sandler. It's just, the comedy stuff. Hey, I got to say, when I saw him at Benaroya Hall a few years ago, and he brought all those guys with him, there was almost no hibbity to dibbity ratio, as Mike used to say, right? There was almost none of that at all. It was just dirty, old school humor. It was great with some stupidness on the guitar. It was a lot of fun. So anyway, yes, Grown Ups 3 is now apparently being written, and it's going to be coming out on Netflix if it comes out. And they are saying that the stars are likely attached to it. Well, Rob Schneider wasn't in number 2. So is he coming back for number 3?
I'm sorry, I thought you said stars.
Very good. I like that. Very, very good. Anyway, do you like the Grown Ups movies? I love the stupid Grown Ups movies. I really, really. The second one was not great. Not great. But yeah, good stuff you can get over there. I kind of like that stuff. I told my kids, and my kids are like, meh. There's just so many stupid sequels. I mean, Coming to America 2, the movie that nobody needed. Nobody needed the Coming to America 2. Stick with the Coming to America 1. Coming to America 2, very, very stupid. I will say, I will defend the Happy Gilmore 2. I was shocked how much I liked the Happy Gilmore 2. You go into that, it's funny, it's ridiculous, and let's remember, we're not talking about Gone with the Wind with Happy Gilmore 1. They knew exactly what they were doing with Happy Gilmore 2. I enjoyed it. You can actually see our movie review for that up at KVI.com from way back when that sucker came out. You can find it at the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast at whatever your preferred podcast platform is while you're over there. Yeah, me, I don't know why. I didn't find Adam Sandler funny when I was a kid, but for some reason when I'm an adult, maybe it's because I'm sitting there with my kids and they were laughing at him and they found him ridiculous and over the top. And I said, okay, now I like Adam Sandler. So yeah, I didn't like him so much back when he was on Saturday Night Live and stuff. I really love the stupid movies now. I don't know why. I even watched that stupid Bat Mitzvah movie. I like that stuff. Anywho, got a few texts over here. This one here from the 360R. Your current guest, Seth Barron, is preaching to the saved some of us. He is right on the money. The Marxist communists have been filling the bucket for over 100 years. Drip, drip, drip. Eventually, the bucket spills over, says L. Darth Bow. Couldn't have said better myself, Darth. Well, my friends, that's going to about wrap it up for us today. But tomorrow, we are likely going to have an exclusive story coming at you from Seattle Public Schools. We have a new student stepping up to sue them. Just got that information. So we'll have that exclusive story for you tomorrow, plus a whole lot more. Don't forget, we will have more insane stories and more exciting guests, my friends. So make sure you are tuning in tomorrow from 3 to 6, as always. That's going to wrap it up for us. We will see you tomorrow. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.